What up, y'all? It's another Tuesday, and welcome to Out of the Ordinary. I'm your host, Mikey, and let's get started. So I don't remember. I don't know if you all remember, but a few months back, I did a story on D.B Cooper, which I could not complete due to internet troubles, and so this time I'm going to give you the complete story of D.B Cooper. Let's say hi to a couple people here. We got somebody called Finding D.B Cooper. Huh. Well, I mean, you ask what it's about, it's all in your name. Finding D.B Cooper. Which, we're not looking for D.B Cooper, but I'm going to tell you the story. Say hi to Roots Bleed Red. Yeah. Welcome, welcome. So, see if a few other people show up. Anyhow, the story I'm about to tell you, it's taken from Unsolved Mysteries, but it's in my version. So, all of you out there, if you're listening to this, please do not mess with it, because I am at fair use of this. So, let's get started. So, D.B Cooper. Before Thanksgiving of 1971, D.B Cooper walked into the airport in Portland, Oregon. FBI agent Ralph Himmelsbach. There was nothing unusual about him. He said he was your typical businessman, a suit, tie, and a raincoat, carrying an attaché case. Nothing distinctive about him except perhaps for the fact that everything was dark. Black tie, black raincoat, black shoes. Black old Cadillac. Sorry, I had to add that Rancid song in there. Anyhow, he appeared at the ticket counter, bought his tickets, and just gave the name Cooper. A headshot of Florence Schaffner. Florence Schaffner was talked to Cooper. Cooper wanted assurance that the plane was a 727. Agent Hilmsbeck explained why. The 727 became notorious through the case because it's the only airliner from which a successful parachute jump can be made from a passenger's cabin. D.B Cooper bought a one-way ticket to Seattle. His only luggage was a briefcase. He was the last person to board the plane. He took his seat while the 727 begins taxiing through the runway. Flight attendant Florence Schaffner was the first crew member to talk to Cooper. Yeah, I did say Schaffner. Florence said, he handed me a note and he kept looking at me. And I just ignored him the first time he looked at me. And then he said, I want you to read the note. It was printed, Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want you to sit beside me. Cooper then opened up his briefcase so the flight attendant could see what was inside. She said, I saw a big battery with 6 dynamite sticks wrapped around the battery. And then he said to me, all I have to do is attach this wire to the gadget here, and we'll all be dead. His hand pulls out the stack of money from the ground. Some of the ransom money was found. Oh, a hand pulls out a stack of money, sorry. And so began one of the most infamous unsolved crimes in U.S. history. To this day, no one knows the true identity of the man who called himself D.B Cooper, or if he even survived his daring parachute leap from 10,000 feet. The case remains the only unsolved skyjacking in the world. Flight attendant Florence Schaffner went to the cockpit to inform the crew about Cooper and his threat. She recalled, we were very, very scared to death. All of us were. I was thinking about dying. That's all I thought, and that's all I was also thinking. I'll never see my parents again. My brothers or sisters. Uh, Cockpit. Skyjacking. You're cracking me up here. Anyhow, a scuba diver getting a breath of air above the water, divers searched Lake Merwin but found nothing. The flight crew immediately notified air traffic control about the hijacking. They, in turn, contacted the FBI. According to the agent Hilmsbeck, Cooper's demands were precise. He in fact wanted $200,000 in cash, in a knapsack, and 4 parachutes. He identified the parachutes as 2 front pack parachutes and 2 backpacks, and specified that the airline remain in the air until the money and the parachutes were ready at Seattle. He also specified that the other passengers not be told that the airplane was being hijacked. Oi! The flight crew proceeded as if nothing was out of the ordinary. Aha. Drinks were served. Cooper ordered 2 bourbon and a water. Meanwhile, the FBI communicated with the airline. Agent Hilmsbach said the airline agreed to pay the ransom. The FBI asked the airline what their approach to the hijacking was going to be. That is, they did wish to pay the ransom. This is an option that the victim of extortion has rather than the law enforcement, and they responded instantly that they wished to pay the ransom, and so the FBI at Seattle set about assisting in obtaining the money. Calvin, what's going on, man? Welcome. Richard McCoy walking next to the police officer. Some believe Richard McCoy was D.B. Cooper. Each bill was photographed with the serial numbers recorded. Cooper also insisted the plane be refueled immediately once it landed in Seattle. No passengers were to be released until all of his demands were met. He also instructed that once it landed, the plane should stay on the runway rather than taxi up to the terminal. At 5:43 p.m., Flight 305 landed at the Seattle airport. The plane taxied in and was parked in the remote area of the field. Then, according to Agent Hilmsbach, the bag of ransom money were brought aboard. There, we carried on board by a flight attendant. There were 10,000 $20 bills assembled in straps of $100. Like, there were 10,000 20 bills assembled in straps of 100 bills to a strap. An individual strap held together with rubber bands. The money alone, just the currency, weighed 21 pounds. 4 parachutes were also delivered. Both the flight crew and the FBI were worried that Cooper would use the extra parachutes to take hostages along with him. The passengers on board were completely unaware of the drama surrounding them, which included FBI snipers, according to Agent Hilmsbach. He says, during the time the airliner was on the ground at Seattle, there were FBI agents with scoped rifles who were prepared if the indications were present that required to pick him off. Finally, the passengers were allowed to deplane. Deplane. But Cooper demanded that the flight crew and one attendant stay on board. Florence Schaffner recalled her conversation with the co-pilot. And co-pilot said, "You better get the hell out now." So I left with Tina And then when he decided to keep her because he was getting suspicious at everything, the passengers were met by FBI agents. It was only then that they realized that the plane had been hijacked and that their lives had been in mortal danger. When debriefed, they could remember nothing about the man with the briefcase. Cooper ordered to fly from Seattle all the way to Mexico City at the height of 10,000 feet and at the speed of only 200 miles an hour. He agreed to refuel in Reno, Nevada. According to Agent Hilmsbeck, Cooper then made an unusual request. He wanted the rear stairwell to be lowered prior to takeoff. The pilot explained that he wasn't able to take off with the door open, and they argued back and forth. Finally, the pilot said he just couldn't fly the airplane and wasn't going to try, and the hijacker consented for the door to be closed for takeoff, which it was. 7:37 p.m. Flight 305 took off. The Seattle control tower alerted all the other aircrafts to remain clear. Cooper's 727 had the sky to itself. Cooper then told the remaining flight attendants to go to the cockpit. Agent Helmsback elaborated. He told her to go back into the cockpit and close the curtain between the coach and the first class cabins. As he turned around to close the curtains, she said she saw him tie something to his waist with what she thought was a rope. Later in the cockpit, the light flashed, indicating that the hijacker was attempting to operate the door. At 8:12 p.m., the pilot told us that they were experiencing rapid change in the air pressure, reflected in an ears-popping experience. Somewhat over the forest of Washington State, Cooper jumped. Upon landing in Reno, Nevada, every inch of the 727 was examined for clues as to who D.B. Cooper really was. But he left behind no identifiable fingerprints, no personal items, and no clue to his identity. The flight attendants who had seen Cooper up close helped create a composite drawing of his face. The crew felt that Cooper had jumped somewhere near the southern tip of Washington State. It was believed that he would be found in an area bordered by Lake Merwin and ending 20 miles north of Portland. No matter where Cooper landed, Frank Heal believes he could have survived. Okay. Give me a minute here. Here we go. So this guy says, let's say he went down in the water. You got to know how to manage that parachute. You can use it for some flotation. Now his life expectancy is not going to be very long in that water. It's cold, and you have to think of the time of the year it was in. So he had probably had a very few minutes to get on shore. But I think he could have done this. He said. A large white object was seen floating in Lake Merwin, but divers found nothing. Agent Helmsback felt that it was unlikely that Cooper would have survived. He said, my feelings would have been hurt regardless of what he landed into. I think that Cooper mostly crawled to a creek. He didn't have any water supplies. He didn't bring anything along with him, and he would have had to have water to survive. So I assume he made his way to the little creek and perished there. Some feel that Cooper could never survive that rugged terrain, depressed only in a business suit. Frank Hale suggests that Cooper came prepared. He says, we don't know what he wore under the suit. Could have had a pair of long underwear, which he certainly should have had. And what he had in his pockets may have been the most important thing, because he would have given them the tools of survival. As long as a man's got a knife, a cigarette lighter, and clothes on his back, he could have lived indefinitely out there. It's possible. I think he buried the chute. I think he probably buried the briefcase. He got rid of that, and I think he probably put the money in his coat and think he headed for the big city someplace and lost himself. The search for D.B. Cooper continued with no new clues. Then in November of 1978, a hunter deep in the Washington forest discovered a plastic sign from a 727 that had been ripped from the lower stairwell of Flight 305. 15 months later, an even more dramatic discovery was made. On February 10th of 1980, a family was preparing a barbecue on the shore of the Columbia River, 20 miles southwest of Cooper's supposed jump point. They then planned to dig a fire pit, but dug up something else, stacks of waterlogged bills totaling $5,880. Agent Hilmsbeck confirmed that it was part of Cooper's ransom. He says, there was 294 bills found and all of those serial numbers are on the ransom list. So that money is definitely identified as having come from that particular ransom money. Some believe that the discovered proves Cooper perished. Again, Frank Heel doesn't think so. They did not find the $200,000. Where's the rest of the money? That's what I want to know. Agent Hilmsbeck had his own rationale for why Cooper's plan didn't succeed. And Hilmsbeck says, he risked his life to hijack an airliner. He didn't get to spend the money. He may have lost his life. Now I don't know that he lost his life, but if I think there's very good chance that he did. None of the money, not one bill has ever turned up in circulation. Many believe that D.B. Cooper survived, and some even think that he may have struck again. Only 5 months after Cooper's flight, $500,000 was extorted by another hijacker. He was a former Green Beret, and his name was Richard McCoy. He was sentenced to 45 years for air piracy, but he escaped and was killed in a gun battle with the FBI. Due to the resemblance between their pictures, some believe that D.B. Cooper and Richard McCoy are the same man. But flight attendant Florence Schaffner believes that the original composite of Cooper may be inaccurate. The composite never really looked like him. That hair does not look like him. The face does not look like him. Florence worked with Maylin Coleman, a forensic artist from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Together, they created a new portrait of D.B. Cooper. Florence said Cooper was the face she'll never forget. It is still strong mind. I remember everything. The color of his eyes, the color of his eyebrows, and his features. Who was D.B. Cooper? Did he survive? And if not, where is the body? And where's the remaining 194,000? God dang. We may never know the truth. So, yeah. D.B. Cooper was never found. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, is he still alive? Could he be alive? I believe so. Anyways, this show is going to be a short show, and I got a surprise for you guys for next time. Anyways, have a good night, and remember, stay out of the ordinary. Laters.
Coming to you live from Psycho Mantium 13. Join us here throughout the week for all things in audio, visual, and literary content. You can also find us on the World Wide Web at psychomantium13.com. Join Psychomantium 13 and enter the weird.
This nothing wrong with your device. Join me here on Psycho Bunny DC. A delightfully dreadful consternation of horror content. Your head